GM. It is February 20th, 2025. Let's take a look at the Bitcoin market today. Cryptocurrency, crypto. Let's see what we have in store. We're going to start off with Bitcoin on the daily chart. Our first things we look at are market structure, which is currently bearish on the daily when it was set here on the 18th, 2 days ago. The bands are bearish, prices right in the middle of them right now, being held down. The ribbon is bullish, and we are currently in between the 50 and the 100 period moving average. And we're underneath the descending trend line right here. Now, this 50 period moving average that's right above is starting to come up on that descending trend line. It looks like it may be a good area for some resistance above. If we can break above that, it is really pretty smooth sailing higher. We do have a market structure level right across there, as some potential resistance above. If the bulls can get there, we can break above. Maybe they'll find some resistance and continue on. Maybe they'll find some resistance and pop back down. Just some areas of interest to look at. As I mentioned, for the last week or so, the 100 period moving average was a good spot to look for an entry as we would sweep this liquidity, and that's exactly what happened right here. We tagged the 100, and so far it's reacting nicely off of that. Let's take a look at the 4-hour chart. Let's come down here. 4-hour structure is bearish. It is nice and wide because of this cascade we had right here. I'd have marked an interim level that is of interest here as the swing high came up before we made the new low. So that's our 4-hour interim, straightest line ever. 4-hour interim level is right there. The 4-hour ribbon is bearish, but the bands have now flipped bullish as of a couple hours ago. We shall see. We are in a choppy period where the bands go bullish, bearish, bullish, bearish. We're back to bullish again. Our level to take out is this trend line. As you can see, it's coming in to the longer term trend line there that I had marked from the daily. As I had mentioned, that's around where the 50 period moving average is on the daily. So in here, right here, is some resistance above, multiple resistances all in confluence with each other. So I do expect price to find a little bit of problems getting through there. I'm not saying it can't go through there, but it may very well roll back over when it gets there. So this here is an area of interest to watch. And that lines up with what I said on the daily, with the 50 period moving average and this descending red trend line right here. We can keep an eye on, see how Bitcoin reacts. Currently it is Thursday. I'm gonna come over here and take a look at some options data. Currently our price is 97. Our big options levels right here are right around the 100 level, and our biggest one right below us is the 95. Now these options, monthly options, expire next Friday, the last Friday of the month. So I do expect price to get defended on both of those levels between them, as that's where the big players have a bunch of options set up for, and they don't want to be in a loss. Now, that actually lines up with this tag that we had coming down here where we tagged the daily 100 and back above because our 95 level is right there. So we tried to break down below it, and it got rejected right back above it as it got defended. And the 100 level is right above, which is right here. Almost right up where this thing tagged. Top of this. So between now and next Friday, I expect to pretty much be between these two red lines. Let's take these and make them bright and yellow, because they are important. That's pretty much the levels I expect to be within the next week or so. I don't see us going above or below those. If we do, I expect them to get defended because of those major options levels. So let's take a look at Ethereum here. Ethereum on the daily chart, still held down by the 2800 level, the all important 2800. We are now in the bands. The bands are still wide. I do expect the bands to slowly start to come together and flatten out if price can continue to hold here. The daily structure is bullish. The daily bands are neutral currently, and they're around where this trend line is. So Ethereum does have some work to do. It is being held up from below by this daily block, which tried to wick through it. No go. Couldn't even touch it the second time. I'm not saying it can't come back down here, grab that liquidity there, but as of right now, we are being suppressed. The 2800 level is pretty major. You notice when it breaks through it, it does so with authority. It does so with authority. Some nice strong candles to break through it. Even here, breaks through it strongly. So we'll keep an eye on that. But this is the major level. And then we also have this trend line right in here to contend with. It is a pretty steep trend line. The steeper trend lines tend not to be as strong. I don't know. Let's take a look at ETH Bitcoin. I'm still not into ETH long term here. The daily market structure is bullish. The bands, again, kind of like ETH, are starting to flatten out. The ribbon is seriously bearish. The whole trend is seriously bearish. It's nothing but down. So until that changes, there's no point holding on to ETH. There is the major level right here. Set off of that candle. Our first step is really to break that and to flip these bands back to bullish before anything really substantial can happen. Taking a look at Solana now. Solana's trying to find a bottom here as it's making lower lows. We did finally break this level. This here just screams as an exhaustion top. Now, can Solana find some footing and make its way back up? Yeah, but all-time high is quite a ways away. It's got a lot of work to do. Almost $100 away. That's how many percentage is that from current price? You know, it's got to go up 70% just to hit all-time high again. Solana's taken a beating over the last couple weeks. It is far below its bearish bands. Our ribbon is in a bullish formation, but it is not going to stay there. There's no way that's going to come up and start reclaiming here in a couple days. I say no way, but anything can happen. But the probabilities are not in its favor. These ribbons are going to flip to neutral very, very soon. This yellow trend line that price has been respecting, it is below it. We'll see if it continues to hold here. And then we have this daily structure, daily block from quite a ways ago that price has reacted to in the past, right above. And it does seem like price is kind of stuck down here until it can break above. Daily structure is bearish. Daily interim structure is bearish. We do have the support below though. Taking a look at it in the 4 hour. This impulse candle has begun to fill in, has not completely filled. This one did. So this could be a short-term target right here, which does line up with that yellow trend line. As I said, the bands are bearish and wide. They need to flatten out. They're starting to flatten out now, but they need to start to cross up before we can get any move that's an up move here on Solana. Taking a look at Solana on the versus Bitcoin. We've broken down out of this channel. The daily structure is bearish. The bands are bearish and wide. The ribbon is also bearish. Here on the daily, it doesn't really look good, but this may be a fake out and a pop back inside of this range. As if you look at ETH in the past, again, that whole repeat doesn't rhyme thing, you know, blah, blah, blah. But taking a look here, this is what Ethereum did when it broke out of its channel. Broke out of its channel here and came back in all the way up to the top of its channel. That was a nice run on ETH versus Bitcoin. Eventually, it did roll over, lose the channel, and good night to ETH. It's been nothing but down since. But ETH did reclaim that channel after it did have a false breakdown to begin with. Is Solana going to follow suit years later? It may. It may come up here. It may run up for the highs. Eyes are on that. That'll only happen if Solana can find a footing pretty much where it's sitting right now. And that would involve a run back up to the highs. That really could be a good trade. There are some levels in between here for Solana. The daily interim structure has been marked here right around 200. 200, nice round number. It is a level that tends to get defended. People also have their stops there. Good place to get liquidity right above there. We'll see if it can come back in here. That may be a little bit stronger than Bitcoin. It could bring Solana versus Bitcoin back into this channel that we're in here, sideways range. So that's the markets for today. Overall analysis, short term, I'm still bullish short term here until we find some resistance above. Then we'll see what the daily chart can hold. But the daily chart is right in the middle of support and resistance. So from a longer term time frame, daily and above, I think the 100 here was your place to get in if you're looking to trade off of that chart. Again, down here was your trade. I've pointed this out before. There could have been your trade right there. But on the 4 hour, I do expect it to come up here short term. We'll see if we can get above that. GM.